Hello, and thanks for joining us today. I'm super excited you could be here. Look, today we're going to talk about how you build a community, a massive community, how you build trust within the community. And I mean, you're going to hear from the guy, and this guy is so good at this that his YouTube channel alone has over 1 million subscribers. You heard me, 1 million. So this is the guru on community building, but it's not just about community building. You have to build trust within the community because that's where you can actually build an 8-figure business and beyond when you actually do it correctly. And today you're going to learn exactly how to do that. So with us today is Sain. Now, Chris is actually a former Division I athlete, actually turned entrepreneur. He's an author as well and financial independence advocate. So starting as a walk-on athlete, he faced significant credit card and student loan debt without the financial support many of his peers had. He was actually raised in the inner city, and he developed a relentless work ethic and determination to break the cycle of limiting opportunity. So through discipline and perseverance, he paid off his debt. He earned advanced degrees and built a successful career in business. Today, Chris is actually the founder and CEO of Grand City, a nonprofit dedicated to empowering at-risk youth through sports, through education, and through mentorship. He's a dynamic speaker. He regularly shares his story in schools and community nationwide. After retiring at 37, Chris now focuses on helping others achieve financial freedom and long-term success and learn exactly how it's done. Chris, what's going on, man? Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me, man. Awesome intro. Thanks so much. I'm happy to be here. Can't thank you enough.
Yeah, I mean, you've done some killer stuff. So walk me through this. I mean, so you were an athlete. You obviously dealt with a lot of the problems from that. So walk me through this. So how did you go from an athlete to start getting on your entrepreneur journey?
Athlete, man, I would often say, Ty, that being an athlete, it gives you the life lessons that prepare you for business as well as the woes of life. And so teamwork, learning how to be mentally tough, learning how to persevere, learning that it's not necessarily about you, but that together everyone achieves more. And so that's the foundation. Even how I teach the stock market now and how I teach financial literacy and personal finance is through the lens of sports. So my athletic background is a pivotal point in terms of who I became, what I became, because I use it as a springboard to all that I do.
Yeah, I love that. And there's so many things in sports that I think you learn that are so applicable in life. It's like I'm a military guy, so I feel the same way about military. There's so many core things that once you get those down, those principles, that it just helps you along the way. So what attracted you to finance? Like I have mad respect for you because a lot of what you do is financial education, help people go from like debt to like financial freedom. So what got you into that side of things?
The thing that attracted me was as an athlete, and I would stick with that. I seen so many of them. I seen all the stories. I watched all the 30 for 30s and documentaries that most athletes 3 to 5 years after their playing career is over, many of them go broke or bankrupt. And that statistic alone always not only intrigued me, but it piqued my interest into learning what are the behaviors that is leading them to this financial ruin after accumulating so much wealth as phenomenal athletes over their career. So that took me down a rabbit hole, Ty, for me to look at how could I make sure I learned the requisite skills to be able to speak their language, to be able to speak to them in a way that resonates with them so that they can begin to make better financial decisions, so that we can see fewer athletes go broke after retirement as opposed to living well after their playing career is over. And so that was a driving force for me, understanding the nuances that sometimes in our culture, in our community, we learn later in life, we learn late, or we didn't learn at all. And I said, you know what? I have a way with people. They naturally gravitate towards me, but I also have a responsibility that comes with that to teach in such a digestible way, Ty, that the person feel like they truly understand versus just, you know how sometimes you can be in a meeting and you nod your head to something, but you fully didn't understand. With me, we're demystifying that and making sure, no, you truly understand what it is we're talking about as it relates to your finances.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because there's an irony to that. Like, you set out to help, athletes understand those principles, and athletes are not a massive community. It's not a large segment of audience. And now like you're the guru to millions, literally millions and millions of people
Yeah.
across the planet. So I think it's interesting that ironic that you went from, coming in and on such a niche and then ended up having such a
Yeah.
broad influence like you did.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of it. That's the blessing of it too. You start with a focus and you have a genuine heart to help. And then all of a sudden, everybody from all walks of life are gravitating towards you. I have the luxury of in my side of my community talking to people from engineers at NVIDIA who have all of a sudden come into this wealth because they work for a company that has benefited from the AI boom. But although they have company stock, they never knew what to do with their investment. They just so they'll call me like, Coach, I've been working at this company for 20 years. Our stock went through the roof the last few years. I now have $2.5 million, but I don't know what to do with it. You get that side of the spectrum all the way down to your truck drivers and your traveling nurses, to people wanting to know how to better budget, how to manage their money, how to get started investing. And so you are so right, Ty. Focusing on athletes, it end up springboarding into so many other sectors of people. I'm just thankful and humble to be used as a vessel.
Yeah. So, what talk to me about your community? Like, what kind of things are you teaching within your community?
So it's a holistic approach. So one, we meet you where you're at, but we assume that, at the very least, you want to know how to invest and build wealth in the stock market. So investing, I'm talking about index funds, mutual funds, is the foundation. So think of it like this, Ty, just getting a brokerage account. Like, people skip that as if like that's a known thing, but for a lot of people, they still don't even know how to get started. Not just having the money, but okay, you need to open up an actual brokerage account. You need to get a Fidelity account. You need to get a Vanguard account. You need to touch into some of these robo advisors like a Robinhood, like a Moomoo or a Webull. There's so much now that you can get started with. So that would be step one. Step two is then start developing the habits of how and what to invest in. So that might be establishing an emergency fund. That might be just building you a savings account, but we take it a step further, a high yield savings account and or a money market account, because your real savings account gets very little on the dollar. And so it's small steps such as that you will be surprised how many people still to this day in 2026 are new to that concept. Then it's your next layer up of people that, okay, Coach, I do have brokerages accounts. I got my 401k at work. I got Vanguard or Fidelity. Boom. Okay. So now we go into how to actually buy the asset. And not only just buying the asset, what do you buy? You can buy an index fund which tracks the S&P 500 and take the guesswork out of you having to be the expert and you having to pick an individual company and know the balance sheet, the valuation, who the CEO and board is. Or you can do the due diligence of learning those things and pick a company that like, and love. Or in like the case of the person that's in my community, he works at NVIDIA, so he has NVIDIA stock and he goes from there. So that becomes the next layer. And then we just walk alongside you through coaching, through mentorship inside of our community, making sure they feel supported, heard, understood, and that no question is a dumb question. We know this is not taught in school, so we take every question that comes, T, as one with high level of respect, and we remove the feeling of shame and replace it in making sure you feel dignified in any question that you ask.
Wow, that's powerful. I don't know if anybody that does it. Definitely nobody as well that does it as well as you. A lot of our audience is entrepreneurs, and a lot of people I think yours are as well. But do a large portion of your audience entrepreneurs, or is a larger portion of your audience people that are working regular jobs trying to invest?
It's 60-40, 60% work. So like, let me tell you, engineers, truck drivers, traveling nurses, school principals, dentists, doctors, surgeons. That's the core. And then you got athletes. And then the 40% is entrepreneurs. They're doing well in their online business. They're doing well in their brick and mortar. They got a laundromat. They got a biohazard company, and they now have somewhere and need to know where to park their money. And so it's a 60-40 mix. 60% are working individuals, 40% are entrepreneurs.
So how did you go to build a community? How do you, what kind of steps did you find were the essential blocks? Because let's be honest, there's a lot of people out there trying to be influencers, and a lot of them never reach 100,000 subscribers. Like, you got over 1 million just on YouTube alone, and your other channels are blown up. So how did you find your way? Was it just something that naturally happened, or did you experiment a lot to kind of find out what works? Like, how did that initial boom work that you started to really take off and figure it out and gain a following?
Great question, Ty. For me, it was all organic. And I'm going to talk about the organic piece and why that's significant in just a second. I had an organic rise to what you see today. And what done it for me, we have two principles: transparency and trust. We call it TTC: transparency, trust, and consistency. Those are the foundational pillars of how we built the brand, how we built our community, how we build our Patreon, or any big community that you see we have developed. It was off of transparency, it was off of trust and consistency. The consistency piece consists of showing up every day. So some people post once a week. I post 7 days a week. Now, my father just passed, so I had to plan his funeral. So I haven't posted 7 days in a row since then. But prior to that, I post 7 days a week. So the people know I'm going to show up for them every day. Secondly, as far as trust, when you show up every day, whether the market is high or low, you are demonstrating that you're somebody that's trustworthy. You're not fleeing when times get bad. You're not ducking the smoke when Iran and the US go to war and now all the stocks are plummeting. You're standing in the fire with your community. And then the transparency, we do a 0 to 100K challenge, and they saw me, and I have done it since day one. They saw me show them how to invest with little to no money and grow it to $1,000, $10,000, $20,000, eventually to the 100K. So they have examples of trust, transparency, and they see the consistency, and the channel is focused on them. We highlight them every day, T. We recognize them, whether it's their money they made in the market, whether it's plays that they did for the first time and won their first $25. We treat $25 like we treat $25,000. The same level of praise, the same level of affirmation comes with those things, man. And so for us, that was how we built the foundation. And then finally was what I said at the beginning: organic. When you don't pay for subscribers, when it's not fake, when it's not bought, what I notice is it translates whatever you do. So for instance, I'm in New York right now. I had a billboard erected of me in Times Square. My fans all over, as well as those in New York, that's part of the Quiet Wealth Club, that's part of YouTube, they all came and participated because there's real relationship. There's real community. We got an event when I leave you today. We're flying to Dallas, and they're going to all migrate over, and we're going to set up shop in Dallas for our Quiet Wealth Summit. And my point being is, when it's organic, you can build real community. You can build audience trust, but they also spend with you. They also show up to the events you have. They also support external things you have going on, like my dad passing. My dad lives in Atlanta, but we're from Michigan. I had an Atlanta funeral and a Michigan funeral. My follower showed up to both. Almost was like, man, I need to rent out the Ford Field Detroit Lions Stadium. These people are coming in droves to just support, because they're repaying the way I made them feel every day inside of our community on our YouTube channel.
Sorry for the loss of your dad. You're a young guy, so I can't imagine that at your age.
Yeah.
So I'm sad to hear that. It's got to be a really difficult thing.
It was, man. It was unexpected, and it was sudden. And so it teaches you that life is but a vapor, and it teaches you that you got to cherish people while they're here, because you never know, they could be here today and gone today. And that's how fast things can go.
I found in life, I'm a charismatic guy and you're a charismatic guy. It's interesting on how it's just something I'm born with, and it's interesting how people just gravitate towards me
Mm-hmm.
or remember me in situations. I always find that's interesting. But you just said something I think is really interesting about how you make people feel. And how important do you think that is? The baseline of what you do is not just that you're out there educating, but I mean ultimately the way that you make your community feel.
People don't remember what you did for them, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. And I've never lost sight of that. And no matter what, for me, it's like one of my greatest compliments is that despite the success, Ty, I remain anchored in humility. I remain grounded. And so they don't show up to YouTube and get a boastful guy because what I've accomplished. You know what I'm saying? They still see somebody that's an everyday Joe, an everyday guy, a guy you want to go have a beer with. And so for me, that matters. That compliment is bigger than anything I can get because it shows me people remember how you made them feel. And because I do it consistently, they see, oh, it ain't just Ty he did it for. He did it for Mark. He did it for John. He did it for Corey. He did it for all these guys, and he's consistent across the board. So back to that consistency piece again, when they see it across many phases of who you are, they say, oh, that's just him at his true core and at his true character. And it builds that affinity for you, and it just serves you well in other things you pursue and do.
What drives you most in all of this?
Great question. I think it's seeing other people win. Ty, I'm so big on one, you got great energy about yourself. So if you had this same similar stance with people, it wouldn't surprise me. Like, man, we love Ty. You got that infectiousness spirit about yourself. I love to see other people win. I don't have an envious spirit. I don't have a jealous bone in my body. I'm the guy that if you're winning, I might be your biggest cheerleader. If you're winning, I might be more happy when you win than when I win. But I never feel like you winning is taken away from me. And so that's what it is for me. I love to see other people win. And I love when I can play a small role in why you won.
Yeah, I love it. It's like it makes you happy to see other people happy. Like when you are part of the one that's like making them succeed and seeing their happiness, like it rises you up. Have you always been like that? Or is that something that just through life you've just kind of acquired or realized that is something that really drives you?
No, I would say I've been like that, T. I've been like that since elementary school, far as I know. I think for me, um, seeing other people win, I always knew it's enough light for all of us. It doesn't dim mine in any way, shape, or form or fashion. You might have this awesome podcast, and before I came across you, you still were somewhere changing lives, helping people with business and everything else that's associated with it. And so it showed me that there is enough light for Ty to be successful as well as for Chris to be successful. And there's no need for anything other than to support that. And I think others are so unaffirmed, Ty, that when they do get affirmation and when they are affirmed in such a way, it show them how to believe in themselves. And so I think in an indirect way, the way being how I am has helped people find their own voice, their own confidence. And it's just been a good thing to see. And listen to this last point on that. Some stuff don't even be me directly. It might not have been me helping them. It might have been them watching the video, but testing stuff on their own, and they end up finding success. And then they'll come back and say, hey, coach, I didn't do what you said, but I took the principles of what you said and tried my own thing over here, and it worked out. I'm just as happy because it's not about me. It's just about you winning and me seeing you succeed.
You talked about, trust being so important. How are some of the ways that you are building trust? I mean, obviously being transparent, being honest, being in the fire, not running when things are difficult, all very important things because people see that you're there and you're legit. But like, I mean, you have to do a lot to build the subscriber base you have and the community that you have and be honored the way that you're being honored for doing it. You got to build a lot of trust at a level that a normal influencer doesn't do, even if they have a larger following. So how do you build that level of deep trust where people want to show up to your father's funeral in multiple states? I mean, how do you accomplish that level of trust? I've never really seen that, I don't think, in any of the communities out there that I see.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's everything you alluded to that I shared earlier, but it's also sharing that you're human and that your vulnerabilities as well. Sharing your vulnerabilities alongside being human. I've never, even though they may look at me like if I call them on a coaching call, if we was to put them on speakerphone and I call them, oh my God, it's you. I thought it was going to be one of your team members. I thought it was going to be somebody that worked for you. But no, it's actually Chris that called me. I think things like that. I think sharing the losses, like even sharing that my father passed away. Everybody can relate to grief or losing a loved one. I think those things humanize you. And I think these things build, now, not that I was doing it to build trust, but I seen the massive ray of support that came from it. I'm looking like, man, I just was sharing with them what happened. My dad passed away at 8:09 this morning. I just happened to just say something about it. Like, man, lost my pops today. I didn't think that they were going to all show up to the funeral. You're not doing it with that intent, but what it teaches you in hindsight is like, man, you guys really relate with vulnerability. You guys really relate with somebody that's authentic beyond all the affirming things and the results and the life-changing success we have. You are relating to the realness and rawness of the human being. And I think that's the thing that builds trust for me.
What is one of the most surprising things that you've learned through this journey?
Great question. I'm very philanthropic, man. We give away millions of dollars every year, T. We've done this for a long time. And one of the surprising things is I have a giving spirit, but sometimes my blessing, my monetary blessing has interrupted the storm God might have been taking somebody through. There was a lesson somebody needed to learn. Maybe they were messing off their finances, living wrong in private. And I came through with $50,000, $25,000 and blessed their life. And what it taught me in hindsight was like, sometimes when you're trying to do good, you might be interrupting what God is doing in somebody else's life. He needed them to go through this to learn a lesson. And then here you come, you know what I'm saying, barely doing any due diligence on a situation. You just come and saving the day, whether that's a family member, whether that's a stranger or what have you. That has been one of my biggest lessons, man, interrupting the storms people are in and stopping the lesson they needed to learn from whatever they were doing. So think like this. So say somebody keep going to the casino and blowing all their family's money. And the wife is just fed up. The husband just keep going to the casino. He took a line of credit out. He took it to the casino. He got a home equity line of credit. He took it to the casino. He turned the car in, took it to the casino. Say I didn't know about that. And now he's in a storm. He might be going through a divorce or whatever the case may be. And here I come donating money to something or giving money to something. And the Lord needed him to go through that storm to maybe come out of the gambling addiction, come out of the drinking addiction. But here I come. That's the lesson I would say from a biggest lesson standpoint that I learned was that.
That's a powerful lesson. And I wonder, how do you know the difference then? You still want to be philanthropic, so you still want to help. But then how do you know who to help and then who still is going through that storm and needs to go through it on their own?
That's a great point. That's where the vetting comes into play. And so it has forced me in some ways to like give to only 501c3 nonprofits. Yes, I get the tax advantage. Yes, I get the write-off, but all of my giving is not intended for that. It makes me do a deeper dive though into seeing like your character, what your integrity is, versus just the surface level. I might have bumped into you somewhere, you told me your story, and then I made it a point to sew into you, but I didn't get the full story. Now I'm gonna get the full story, because after years of doing what I've done, it come back full circle. Like, oh man, that person wasn't worthy of the monetary blessing you bestowed upon them, but you didn't know that because you didn't do enough due diligence. So that's what I would say to that.
You do a lot of education. Like you said, you're consistently out there every single day. What have you found resonates most to build an audience and tribe? Like, what kind of teachings out there do people resonate with versus stuff that they just don't?
Something that can get them real results tomorrow is what I know. Much as I do the holistic thing, much as I do the teaching you every aspect of the game, when I can tell them, like, I do this, I go this far to teaching my audience. I'll tell them, so like, let's just use Tesla, for example. They had earnings yesterday. Elon Musk talked about he was going to be spending more money for SpaceX. So the CapEx is going up. That kind of language means that the Tesla stock will go down. So this is what my audience love. I know that. I know what the lingo and how they talk on Wall Street, what they mean, what they say, and what it will do for the stock. So this morning in Patreon, I told all of them, hey, Tesla stock will drop today because of what Elon talked about on earnings. So if you want to make money today, you need to make money to the downside, which is called buying a put to make money when the stock price falls down. They love that level of detail. And my phone is right here, been blowing up. Oh my God, coach, I made 3,000. Somebody made 34,000. Somebody made 22,000. Somebody made 3,000. Somebody made 800. Across the board, when they get real results, they love that, but the trust for you go higher, because in their mind, you just did wonders for them. When all I'm doing, I'm just a technician. I'm just a guy that's a real expert at looking at the chart and seeing what it's signifying to me.
Do you ever go on the opposite end if you're wrong?
Yeah, I'm wrong. I'm wrong enough for them to know I'm human. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah, do they give you a hard time ever?
In 2020, well, in the earlier years, yeah, they've been with me enough to know, damn, coach, you can't get them all right. So yeah. They got a better attitude being with me 6 years versus year one. In year one, they didn't know their own risk tolerance. They didn't know their own risk management. So, oh my God, I can't believe I listened to you. That you said Tesla was going to drop and it went up. That's what they would have said 6 years ago. Fast forward today, they say I said something, and then the administration came out with the Iran and US war is back on, and that made the stock crash again.
Yeah, right.
Now they know the catalyst and the rhyme and reason. Oh, coach, man, your play didn't do good today, but we seen the news that came out that the war ain't over. We understand why the stock went down. So they have grown and know how to handle those better than they did initially.
Yeah, it's powerful because you've done that. You've helped them realize that is the market, right? I mean, that's the market works.
And Ty, I tell them that. That's the one thing. Ain't no fluff. It's not no everything go up. I tell them every day, hey, these stocks may some of them may go down. They might not stay down, but you need to know this week they might go. So they always can say, yep, coach, you told us Sunday night that some of the stocks, these particular ones are going to go down this week. These ones are going to trade and consolidate sideways. So they can say they knew, and they like knowing. And so, yeah, they know nothing ain't never going up all the time. Nothing ain't always making money. Losses come with the game. And I think they appreciate me talking like they tell me that stuff. Like, man, you don't never promise us a pipe dream, or you don't ever sell us whoop tickets. I do tell them the real, like, even if they want to trade, Ty, I tell them, there's risk associated with this. You're better off investing because you don't lose unless you sell. But
Yeah.
trading, you can be on the wrong side of this trade, and in 2 seconds, you lost all your money. So you need to know that come with it. And I think that level of transparency they appreciate.
Yeah, as you say, it all comes back to your core of transparency. Chris, you've done so much, you've accomplished so much. Like, where are you going from here?
Ty, I need to meet people like yourself. I'm at this stage of life. I'm a modest guy. Even though I make a lot of wealth, I'm a modest guy. I'm humble by nature. I have learned relationships take you further than money. Ty, with how cool you are, I wouldn't be surprised if you know somebody that if you introduced us could take something I'm doing to the next level. Or if you and me did something, we could together do something at the net. I'm at that stage of life now where I always say once you get more than $5 million, it's not too much you can't do that somebody else with more can do once you have that liquid. And so for me, it's just like, it's about relationships, being and surrounded by good people, leveraging networks, whether you leverage mine or whether I leverage yours or whether we collaborate together. I'm there at this juncture of life because, like I say, relationships take you further than money.
I love it, Chris. A lot of people want to follow you. I mean, this has been so powerful, man. I really appreciate you coming on. Where can everybody go to be able to learn more and be part of your community?
Everything starts at chrissain.com. It's my name, first and last name, all together.com. Nothing complex. If you want to join the community, if you want to tap in on YouTube, if you want to do one-on-one coaching, all of those services, most are free, but all of that stuff is able to be accessed at chrissain.com.
I love it. Chris, thanks for coming on with us today.
Ty, thanks so much for having me.
All right, so listen, go to chrissain.com. It's chrissain.com. If you go to chrissain.com, there's at the top right, there's a menu bar, 3 little bars. You click them, and then everything you could possibly want is right there. I mean, you're able to actually see the 100K savings challenge is right there. You're able to access membership, coaching, everything right there. You're also able to see Chris's social channels. So Chris has a massive subscriber base for a reason, because he's transparent, because he's providing value, because of all the things that we talked about today. So go see for yourself. I mean, somebody that has this large of a following has a large following because he's giving actionable information and a lot of value. So go to chrissain.com, click the 3 bars, open the menu, and before you do anything else, just subscribe really quick on a social channel. It takes less than a minute to do, and then you can actually be part of the growing community that way. Then you can start to look at all the other ways you can expand that knowledge and be a growing part of the community through his membership, through his coaching, and again, being an active part of what Chris has got going on. So go to chrissain.com, S-A-I-N, chrissain.com. Top right, make sure you hit those 3 bars of the menu, go down, subscribe less than a minute, and then make sure you take a look at all the things that Chris has to offer, because if you're part of his growing community, then you can jump in and be able to take advantage of all of his knowledge that he's gained along the way, the transparency, the honesty, and be part of a growing movement to basically get rid of debt and to also really achieve financial freedom. So make sure you check it out today at chrissain.com. Thank you very much for tuning in. Take care and have a great day.